Okay, so we're chapter 2 takeaways here and calm leadership. So dove into the chapter and this I really enjoy this chapter. I will start by saying that, and I agreed with a lot of the stuff it was saying, and you said to say when you disagree, and there wasn't a whole lot in this chapter that I disagreed with. It was pretty straightforward and talking about communication style with leaders and how to be effective and what works and what doesn't. Um, so my first point, I wanted to make a little list to make sure I'm on track throughout the video. Um, Communication style is a factor in effectiveness of a leader. That's very prominent in everything that I've been a part of, and in my situations where I've been around leaders. Every leader leads a certain way, and I think leaders lead a certain way through communication. I think a big part of being a leader is through communication. So how that leader decides to go about their communication is very important to, how they lead. It kind of sums up to me what that leader is and how they go about kind of what they do. Um, so it kind of jumped in and we got into the different types and, they kind of seem like stereotypes in a way, but um, the way I view stereotypical leaders is, you got the hard leader who's going to be in your face, kind of the military type of guy, and that's summed up through authoritative leadership. And these type of leaders, they maintain strict control over their followers. It's kind of like a military, in your face, kind of, sometimes loud. A lot of times these type of leaders will be physically impressive, and the tone in which they speak is a certain way, and it's kind of authoritative. I think that kind of speaks for itself in a way. But as soon as I read this, I thought of a video. Jocko is he's kind of a YouTuber. He's a motivational guy. And Jocko Willink, I think is how you say his name. But I was watching his video the other day, and he was talking about this army leader who was unbelievable in the army. He led he had a certain amount of troops, and he was in charge, and he was very authoritative with his troops. So he decides to get out of the military. He was very successful in the military. When he gets out, he joins a company. And he's in charge of a sales team, and he was such an effective leader in the military. And when he got out and he joined this sales team and was heading up this sales team, he wasn't effective. And and it was because of the way he was going about stuff. He constantly wanted to yell or be aggressive or tear someone down, and I think that just speaks to the fact that this leadership style, it works for some in some cases. In other cases it doesn't. For the military it worked, and for the workforce and running a sales team it didn't work. So I thought that was unique. And another thing that the chapter noted was that authoritative leaders create distance actually between their followers. And when I think of being a leader, you want to be united with your team. You don't want to be creating distance or creating separation between who you're trying to lead. And they also authoritative leaders believe that people will not be effective on their own, which I disagree with. So that's one thing that I didn't, not that I disagree with authoritative leaders, but I just disagree with, the way that they conduct some things. Democratic leaders, which is the most effective, as the chapter said. This supports communication between your team. This is kind of what I think of when I think of a leader, as somebody who's communicating with their people. I want to know that this encourages communication between the leaders and the followers, where authoritative does not. It creates distance between the people. And then laissez-faire is a hands-off approach, kind of speaks for itself. This is not effective, and I kind of want to talk. So when I left Kentucky, I went to Faulkner to play, and we had a very much laissez-faire approach. They called it like pro ball. So we had all these Division I guys who had been in trouble or got hurt or whatever their situation was, led them to from a really good place in college baseball to, a lot of guys that had messed up, kind of like a Last Chance U that you see on Netflix. And our coach was very laid back, and there was no direction. And I think that led to a lot of the things that we struggled with is we weren't disciplined. So I'm not a huge fan of the laissez-faire. I like to let people, do their thing, and I relate a lot of things back to baseball. So like our leader was our coach, and half the time he wasn't at practice. So how could we ever have true leadership and be headed in the right direction when it's so laissez-faire, hands off? So task and interpersonal. I liked this type of leadership. You focus on the task and the people, which, my dad is a CEO of a company. And so I like to think of a lot of leadership things through him and through coaching. And this is very important. You got to focus on work because that's why you're there, but you also have to know the people and what the people are going through and know that they have your back and who's on your team. So I like task and interpersonal because I think that's the most important thing is getting the work done and also caring about your people. So that was my chapter 2 takeaways. Hope you enjoyed it.